What's up, everyone? This is Puka back with another edition of the beginner decks for people just getting started in the Pokemon TCG. If you missed the previous two videos, we went over a Blastoise Keldeo deck and also a Tool Drop deck. And now we'll try to follow this up with another kind of simple concept that is very powerful, and it's actually one of my favorites. That's going to be Round. Now, this was a deck that was kind of a joke in the last format, but now it actually has some strength to it. All these Pokemon have Round. Seismitoad is going to be your main attacker. Round does 30 damage times the number of your Pokemon that have the Round attack. So, obviously, we're going to be needing a lot of Pokemon with Round in play. So we play 4 Seismitoad, and the other Pokemon that's going to have it is Palpitoad, the Stage 1. Round, his only does 20 damage, it's a lot weaker, but it does have Round, and that's the important part. So we're going to play 4 of him as well, since we want to get as many in play as possible. Also, we'll need to run 4 of the basic Pokemon. You can run any of the Timpoles you want. In this version, I have 2 of the Bubble version, which can paralyze your opponent. And then 2 of the other Timpole with 60 HP. It's really personal preference. This probably won't matter most of the time. I run 2 of each just to show that there are different ones, and there's really no right or wrong way to do it. So we run 4 Timpole, 4 Palpitoad, 4 Seismitoad, so we can get as many in play as possible. Now, the thing that really makes this deck work is Meloetta EX. It has Round as well, and the big thing is it's a basic Pokemon. That makes it very easy to get into play. You can just put it down, and all of a sudden you can start adding 30, 60, 90 damage, up to 120 damage if you have 4 Meloetta EX in play, to your Seismitoad's attack. So that's really it. Very simple deck, but pretty powerful. Get a bunch of Meloetta EX in play, power up your Seismitoad, and use Round. That is the basic strategy of the deck. Now, of course, the trainer cards are very important as well, since these are beginner decks aimed towards, introducing new players to the game, and we want you to execute your strategy every time. We're going to run a lot of supporter cards in order to draw as many cards as you can. So we'll have the standard Professor Juniper, discard your hand and draw 7 cards. This would be in pretty much every deck. Almost every deck runs 4 of these. Then we'll have 4N, another card that pretty much every deck runs 4 of. You shuffle in and then draw for as many prizes as you have. Both players do. So it's a nice draw card at the beginning, disruption card at the end. Play 4 Skyla, search your deck for a trainer card and put it into your hand. And 4 Chorus, shuffle your hand into your deck and then draw cards equal to the number of bench Pokemon for both players. Since you're almost always going to have a full bench of Pokemon, Chorus is very useful. You can draw up to 10 cards if your opponent, and you also have a full bench. Most of the time you're going to be drawing anywhere from 6 to 8 cards. In the beginning of the game, this is not a very good card, but as the game progresses, it becomes very powerful. So we have 16 supporter cards to really ensure you never miss a beat in setting up your Pokemon. So that's really all we need to do. We set up enough Pokemon, we can attack for enough damage, we'll win the game. We can search out your Pokemon with Ultra Ball, discard 2 cards from your hand, and then search your deck for a Pokemon. Pretty simple. We also have 2 Level Ball. Search your deck for a Pokemon with 90 HP or less, put it into your hand. This can be used to grab both Timpole and Palpitoad. That's why we played 2 of those, because Seismitoad is really our only attacker for the deck. From there, we also run 4 Rare Candy. As if, you didn't have enough Palpitoads to get into play, Rare Candy can expedite the process. You can skip from Timpole all the way to Seismitoad to really get a quick attacker. So you just play a Rare Candy, and then you evolve straight from Timpole into Seismitoad. This is very important. Now, since Seismitoad is really the only attacker we have, I run 2 Super Rod, so you can get back your Seismitoad line. Your opponent has to take 6 prizes to win the game, so with 2 Super Rod we can get back 2 lines of Seismitoad, and potentially get 6 Seismitoad into play in a game. Otherwise, we have basic cards like Switch, which will allow you to switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Since your Pokemon do have retreat costs they have to pay, if they get stuck in the active spot, we want to be able to switch them out. And also Escape Rope. It also acts as another switch card, but forces your opponent to switch as well. So that's something a little tricky we can use, but it's a very powerful card. We also have Silver Bangle. This is very important against Pokémon EX, which normally have 170 to 180 hit points. With this Silver Bangle, we can do 30 more damage to a Pokémon EX. That means you only need 5 Pokemon with Round in play, and the Silver Bangle to hit for 180 damage. And that can add up very quickly, and when your non-EX Seismitoad is taking down something big, like a Mewtwo EX with just this round attack, you're going to come out on top. So Silver Bangle is very important. We play 2 of those. Then we have our A-Spec card in the deck. You can only run 1 A-Spec card. There are a lot of options. For this deck, we're going to use Dowsing Machine. Since Super Rod can be so important, we want to play this in order to recover the Super Rod in some situations. In others, it can be used to get back a crucial Silver Bangle, a switch, maybe another rare candy, another supporter card. This is just a very flexible card that's nice to have in your deck. So Dowsing Machine will be our A-Spec. And then for our energy, it's going to be pretty simple. We have 6 Water Energy. I play Water Energy because we can use Tim Pole's Bubble Attack if we need to. However, you could switch them to Psychic Energy if you'd like, to potentially power up for Meloetta EX's round. The 3 Psychic Energy cost is extremely expensive, so it probably won't make a difference most of the time, but it is an option if you want to just keep things open in case, in a weird situation, you could afford to attach 3 Psychic Energy to Meloetta EX. Double Colorless Energy is going to be your most important resource in this deck. It provides 2 colorless energy, so just for 1 energy attachment, you can use Seismitoad's Round Attack. This is what makes the deck work. So this is it in a nutshell. Very simple, straightforward, and powerful. And I hope you guys can understand why this deck works. And try it out if you haven't already. It's a fun deck. It's actually very inexpensive to build. Seismitoad is pretty cheap. It's just a rare. You can get it in the Noble Victories set or the brand new Legendary Treasures set. Same with the entire Seismitoad line. And Meloetta EX is actually a very cheap Pokemon EX to get as well. Again, you don't need the full rarity of the cards like I have here. You can play lowest rarity. It works just the same. And this deck is probably very cheap to make. So now that we've taken a look at it, let's take a look at a game I played with it, just so you can get an idea of how the deck functions. So we're going to go ahead and decide who goes first. I win the coin flip and decide to go first. And my opponent does not have any basic Pokemon, so he's going to show me, shuffle his hand in and draw a new hand of 7. And then show me again, doesn't have any basic Pokemon. And a third time, still no basic Pokemon. We can gather a lot of information here. Looks like some kind of Garbodor, Darkrai. It looks like he played Umbreon as well. And Crushing Hammer. I don't like the sight of that card, but we'll see what we can do here. So my basic Pokemon is Meloetta EX. I have to start with it as my active Pokemon. And my opponent and I wish each other good luck. And he says, looks like I'm going to need the luck. So I get to draw a card for each of my opponent's mulligans, which means I start off with 4 extra cards. Now, as weird as it is, 6 of these cards are supporter cards, and I can only play 1 of those. So there's actually going to be an interesting decision on what I want to do. First, I'm going to play a level ball, and the first thing I want to do is search to see if any cards are prized. I see 3 Meloetta EX are in here, and 3 Tim Pole. That means 1 Tim Pole is in my prize cards, which is something I'll have to keep in mind. So I'm going to play Level Ball, search for Tim Pole, and then I'd also like to play an Ultra Ball here to search for another Pokemon before I play my supporter. So I have to decide what I want to discard. I'm going to discard another Ultra Ball. I don't usually like to discard supporters since they allow you to draw more cards. So I try not to discard those when I play Ultra Ball. And I'm going to grab a Tim Pole number 2. Those are important to get out on the first turn so that you can evolve them on the following turns. Then I'll play an N, since I don't want to play a Professor Juniper and discard my whole hand. I would like to draw an energy this turn to attach to one of my Pokemon, but it looks like I did not draw one. So I'm going to bench a third Tympole and pass the turn to my opponent. So right now it looks like a Darkrai, Garbodor, Sableye deck. Looks like, I'm not sure why there's an Umbreon line in here as well, but maybe we'll find out why that is. So my opponent played a random receiver, revealed cards until he flipped over a supporter card and got an N. So you can see N is a very popular card. Most decks play 4 of these. We're both going to shuffle in our hands and then draw 6 cards. My opponent has 2 Trubbish on the bench. Fortunately, we do not have any abilities in this deck, so we do not have to worry about a card like Garbodor, which would shut off abilities. We don't really care if he's out there. It doesn't affect us at all. So I'm going to evolve into Palpitoad, bench another Meloetta EX. We'll attach to that Palpitoad, and then I could play a switch here, but there's no real point because I can't attack this turn. And we're just going to play that N. Draw a fresh hand of 6 cards, and we got some good ones. Going to play a level ball, and we'll search for another Palpitoad. Grab that. Evolve the Tympole into Palpitoad, and then we can rare candy into Seismitoad here. So look at this. Turn 2, we have a full field of round Pokemon. We just have 1 bench spot open. We can't attack quite yet because we didn't have the energy for it, but we are pretty much fully set up at this point, and things are looking good. We'll have to see what my opponent does, though. Things could turn around in an instant if he can power up that Darkrai EX somehow and start to use Night Spear. This is one of those Pokemon EX that's very powerful, very difficult to deal with. But if anything can, Round definitely can do enough damage to knock it out in 1 hit if we can draw the right cards. A Night Spear seems pretty unlikely, though. He'll need to get 3 energy onto the Darkrai in order to use that attack. We're waiting for him to make a move right now. And he's going to play a Pokemon Catcher. He can flip a coin. If heads, he can drag out one of my Pokemon. He gets tails, though. It's a very scary card to see. And then he's going to play an N. Looks like we've seen nothing but N's this game for supporter cards. Lots of shuffling in and drawing our new hands. And I'm not too disappointed with his hand. We'll see what my opponent does from here. Now, we do have a big field of Pokemon. Something we have to be wary of is my opponent's Crushing Hammer that we saw when he mulliganed at the beginning. That can remove your energy and put you in difficult positions. Round does cost 2 energy to use, and you only get 1 energy attachment per turn. So you can be caught in bad spots if you allow Crushing Hammer to really get the best of you. So you have to be careful, spread out your energy if you can, and make sure you get multiple attackers powered up if possible. Here I have an Escape Rope. I have a dilemma here. If I play the Escape Rope, I won't be able to knock out the Pokemon that has the energy on it, because I cannot attach to Retreat and still use Round. So I'm going to play a Skyla to grab a switch. We'll switch the Meloetta EX into Seismitoad, attach double Colorless Energy, and then use Round to do 150 damage to knock out the Sableye. You can see we're doing quite a bit of damage right now. 150 for just 2 energy. My opponent's going to send out Trubbish. Now the reason I wanted to take out the Sableye there, my opponent is playing a Darkrai deck. It relies on the card Dark Patch, which can only get energy into play onto your benched Dark Pokemon. So in order to really use Dark Patch effectively and to power up a Darkrai quickly, he's going to need to promote a different Pokemon and then use the Dark Patches onto Darkrai, attach to it, and then he's going to have to retreat his active Pokemon to the Darkrai. So if I can take away that free retreating Sableye that already had the energy on it, it's going to be more difficult for him to power up a Darkrai in this turn. And if he can't power up Darkrai this turn, he'll probably have to commit energy somewhere else, maybe to another Sableye. But it looks like he just doesn't have anything at all and has to pass the turn. So we're catching some good breaks here. My opponent hasn't done very much. I'm going to play another Skyla here, and this time I don't have any more supporter cards. So I'm going to search for a Colress. At this point, Colress is getting me at least 7 cards because I'm going to knock out Trubbish. That'll be a total of 7 benched Pokemon still. We'll play the escape rope to get my Palpitoad out of the active spot, since it didn't have any energy to use round. And then we'll power up Seismitoad back there and round that poor little Trubbish for 150 damage. And now we're in a very good position. I'm going to get another Chorus out of the prizes. So it's like, that Skylock kind of went to waste. But oh well. Better safe than sorry. We see an Umbreon come out. We don't see this very often. Confuse Ray is very annoying though. He could confuse my Seismitoad and then make me decide if I want to commit another energy and retreat, or just kind of go for the flip, see if I flip heads for confusion. And here is Crushing Hammer, the most dreaded card in my opinion. He gets Tails though, and there's a Pokemon Catcher, and he actually goes for a Meloetta EX, which I'm not too upset about. There's a Silver Bangle and a Frozen City. Now anytime I attach an energy, I'll take 20 damage, so that could be potentially devastating. But it looks like I'm going to get hit by Confuse Ray for 50, thanks to his Silver Bangle. But that just means I can attach and retreat into a Seismitoad and knock out this Umbreon. I'm going to bench another Meloetta EX and draw 8 cards from that Chorus. You can see why it's so powerful in this deck. You always have a full bench, if possible. So Chorus is always getting large amounts of cards. And there we go, round for 180 damage. We have 6 Pokemon with round in play, and we're going to knock out that Umbreon. Sableye's coming out again. We'll see if my opponent can put up a fight here. We are pretty well fortified. We have a nice army of Seismitoads, and Meloetta EX is as back up. There is a Dark Patch attached to the Darkrai EX. So he could use Night Spear this turn, if he can get that Darkrai in the active spot. The problem though, if he does bring out Darkrai and use Night Spear, he's going to get hit by a massive round for 180 damage, and that's going to knock him out. So I don't know if he wants to do that or not. He's going to pass with the Sableye active. I'll attach and power up my other Palpitoad and use round for 180 damage, knocking out that Sableye. And it looks like we're going to cruise to victory here pretty soon. I have 2 Professor Junipers in my hand, but in order to play them, I would have to discard a lot of cards. I also had Silver Bangle in my hand, which I could have played, but there's a potential for my opponent to play a Tool Scrapper, which would discard that. So, I have a tendency to hold on to those tools until I really need them, and then boom, play them down at the right time, get that extra burst of damage from Silver Bangle. Sometimes you can play them prematurely, but a lot of the time it's safer to just hold on to them and then play them when you really need them. They do stay attached to your Pokemon, but the big concern is that Tool Scrapper card, which is very popular. So my opponent realizes if he attacks with that Darkrai EX, he gets knocked out immediately by round, so he has to retreat into Sableye. We'll see what he gets back with the Junk Hunt attack. It'll get 2 item cards back from his discard pile. At this point, I have so much energy in play, so many Pokemon in play, it almost seems inevitable that we're going to win here. I'm going to play Super Rod to put an energy back in, because at this point, Super Rod is not really a card I want to draw anymore. It's going to be kind of worthless at this stage in the game because, well, I have pretty much everything set up. So it's not going to be a big deal. One complicated strategy we can do here is I'm going to play Ultra Ball to get rid of cards that I don't want to draw anymore. You can see my opponent played that card N, which shuffled my hand in and made me draw 2 cards, took away my big hand that I had. So we're going to thin out cards that we don't want anymore. Ultra Ball is very good for this. You can discard 2 cards that are really not going to be useful if we draw them from an N. Now I could play this Super Rod, but all I would be doing is shuffling in another card I don't want to draw. So we'll actually hold on to the Super Rod there and use round for 180, knocking out the Sableye. And here's another Crushing Hammer. My opponent has not been very lucky with those. Flips Tails, and that means, oh, here's a Pokemon Catcher as well. Flips Tails again, oh boy. This guy's not having a good day. But that pretty much means I'll be able to round for 180 and we can end this game once and for all. We were in control pretty much the whole time. That doesn't mean we're going to win. Things definitely could turn around with a few things going awry here and there. But there is a Night Spear from my opponent. We'll just attach that Silver Bangle for good measure and finish the game with a round for 210 damage. And there we go. That is, ladies and gentlemen, the power of round, and it's that simple. You can pick this deck up and start playing it right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll have some more for you soon. I am Puka from the Top Cut, and I'll see you guys next time.